Yo, you already know what's going. It's your big dog, Fatty, outside looking inside, surviving prison TV. Yeah. Hey man, so we back. Full effect. You already know what I'm talking about. I got a couple questions, couple comments, and it's a few people asking me about the parole board. So I'm gonna hop on here and I wanna talk about the parole board. I want to talk about my thoughts and my feelings about the parole board. So and then these are my thoughts and my feelings. Period. Um and in my opinion, in my personal opinion, and in my experience, because I've been to the parole board three different times. The first time I was denied at the parole board was for the nature of the crime, the serious nature of the crime, and as well as my institutional performance got me denied a parole. My second time to the parole board, they couldn't use the nature of the crime. They couldn't use the nature of the crime because they used that already. So they used my institutional performance. They used my institutional performance, and it was something like to release the inmate would deem the serious nature of the crime or something like that. And it said something along the lines that I would go home. I'm still showing signs of going home to reoffend. So I was denied. The third time I went to the parole board, and this was after I served 22 years of my sentence. I was granted a parole, 6 months, and then a parole. I had to do an institutional transfer to another institution in order to take a program, and then after I did like 5 months, I had to go back up in front of the parole board, and I met my okay. Well, yeah, I ain't gonna jump into that story right now. I'm gonna stay here. So I was released after 22 and a half years in prison. So to come to the conclusion that I came to from the parole board, it came from me studying the parole board. It came from me studying the people that I knew that went to the parole board that got time. It came from me going to the parole board myself, talking to the parole board those three different times, and eventually coming home. So, in my own personal opinion, the parole board is not put in place to give people paroles. That's not what they're there for. The parole board is put in place to keep people that's incarcerated. Period. They're not looking for reasons to release people. They're looking for reasons to keep people incarcerated. Because to give somebody a parole is co-signing this person, saying this person is ready to go back into society. We feel like after going through this person's file and reading this file and sitting here talking to this person, that this person is ready to go back into society. And I'm going to write my name on this paper and say, I second that motion. So when you look at it from that angle, when I look at it from that angle, it gives me a whole different perspective. Because I was always thinking like, if I go in here, I'm dressed right, I'm talking right for myself, and you know what I'm saying, I'm just spilling the game. I'm just giving them what I think they want to hear the conversation that they want to hear and the tone that they want to hear in order for them to give me a parole. But no, it's not that at all. Because when you think about it, the parole board don't know who you are at all. At all. And now they're not actually in the room with inmates. They on TV. They on a Zoom. You're doing it through a Zoom. So they don't know who you are. They never been in an actual room with you or anything. All they have is your file. And guess what? Everything in that file is everything that you did file. All of the wrong that you did, all of the crime that you committed, it's all inside of that file. That's the only thing that's in that file. Unless, like in my case, because I got the opportunity to get my file. And I swear, when I got my file and I learned this is how I learned that the only thing in the file is bad, because I got my own. And I looked in there and it was horrible. It was everything. I was embarrassed. I was actually embarrassed by my own file. And that was actually something else that helped me be like, man, I got to do better. I have to do better. And I started doing better too after I saw my file. I already was on the road, but when I saw my file, it's like, I was embarrassed. For real, I was really embarrassed. Nothing in there was bad. So, like I was saying, once I found that out, I started trying to figure out, how can I get something in this file? Because at the time when I read the file, I done been and got my GED. I done did a little bit of college. I done graduated graphic design school. I done did a carpentry module. Like I was doing stuff, anger management, victims awareness. I was doing things. Completing programs. So then I found out that once you complete programming, all of those programs that I named, you can go to your case manager with the certificate and request that this be placed on your file. Request that this be put in your file to offset, all the negative. This is how I'm feeling, how I'm thinking. It's how I'm moving. So now every time I do a program, complete anything that's giving me a certificate, a certification of completion or anything, I'm going to my case manager and it's like, hey, can you add this in my file? And they'll do it right in front of me on the computer. Go on the computer, type it in, add it in there. So now I know that's in my file. Also, you can have family members write letters and send them in, like anybody, family, people from the church, people from your community. I know, I don't recommend this, but I know people whose victims wrote letters of support for them. But I wouldn't recommend reaching out to them yourself personally. I didn't reach out, and I didn't get a letter of support from them either. But it's ways that's how you can get stuff in your file, the good stuff. So when they going through it, they can read it, they can see. They can see if your auntie sent the letter in and it's saying that they're going to help you when you get out. Because me, for example, I'm going to use me. I was locked up for 22 and a half years. So now if we open the door and let you out, what are you going to do? What you going to do? Where you going to live? Where you going to get clothes from? Do you plan to work? How you going to get to work? How you going to get to and from to work? You know what I'm saying? What's the plan? What it look like? Make me see what it look like. Make me feel good about signing my name on this paper, co-signing you. Make me feel good about it. That's just like now. If you go into a bank and ask for a loan, they gonna want to see a year worth of pay stubs. They want to see that you've been on your job for a year straight and how much you've been making. They want to see your debt to income ratio. They want to see all that. It's the same thing with the parole board. You got to show them a track record of not getting in trouble in the institution. You should go in there properly dressed and speaking correctly. You know what I'm saying? Proper English. But you also need those things in there that they can see before they see you. So, and then with that, that's eliminating a lot of the questions that they have. Like when I got a parole, it was like the questions that they asked me, it eliminated all of the questions. It's already in the file. Did you take anger management? Did you take victims awareness? The remorse, showing the remorse, that's in victims awareness. And if you actually took the class, they might ask you, what did you learn in that? What did you learn in victims awareness? Oh, so in victims awareness, I learned the ripple effect. I learned that my actions not only affect me and my victim, but it also affects my family. It affects my victim's family. It affects my community, my victim's community. It's all the way down to the parole board. It affects everybody. It affects the judge that the case got to go in front of. It affects the jury. It affects all the way to the parole board, the ripple effect. So you just got to speak about stuff that you learn in these programs and make yourself a candidate for parole. Make yourself a candidate for parole. Just going to jail and sitting in jail and y'all ain't going to get in no trouble. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to mind my business. I'm just going to let the time go. And then when the parole board come, they're going to let me come home. Never. That ain't working. It's not going to work. You're going to get flopped off rip for the nature of the crime. If it's a serious crime, you're getting flopped. You're getting flopped. And then they might say, you need to take X, Y, and Z program. And this program ain't even at the institution that you in. They don't know that. They know the program exists. So now what you got to do is you got to go in and try to get a transfer to this place that they want you to take this program so that you can get out, so that you could possibly get out. Because like I said, the parole board's job is not to give out paroles. The parole board's job is to protect the public by not giving out paroles to people who they deem unfit. And they're already coming through the door deeming you unfit for parole. Period. So you got to have your stuff together. You got to have your institution record got to be clean. Can't been and got in no trouble. Can't been and got a ticket or nothing like that. A ticket is getting in trouble. If you're doing something in there that you're not supposed to be doing and a correction officer see you, they gonna write you a ticket. And it could be for anything. It could be for, you're not supposed to have towels hanging on the end of your bed, but you just got out the shower, you dried off, your towel soaking wet, you need a place to dry your towel, you hang it on the end of the bed. The CO come past, he see that, snatch the towel down, write you a ticket. You're in trouble. You broke a rule. It could be something simple as that. You could be walking on the yard and you done got your badge clipped on the right side of your collar, on the left side of your collar. Pull you over, write you a ticket. Just like speeding. Just like speeding. So that's what a ticket is. So you don't want to have no tickets, no rule infractions. You don't want to go to the hole. You want to just follow the rules and be in compliant and show and let them see that you've been being compliant and following the rules. You also want to have a plan to where you're going to stay, how you going to get to work, where you going to get clothes from, where you going to get food from, and all this stuff is available. Like you ain't even got to say like I'm going to stay with auntie or I'm going to stay with my mother or my brother. You could request yourself to go to a halfway house. I didn't, but I'm saying that's an option for somebody who don't have nowhere to go, but you want to come home. You want to come home. These are options. You could say you're going to get your clothes from the Goodwill. You could say that one slipped my head. It slipped my mind right now. But Oriental House. You can go to the Oriental House in Cleveland, and they give out bus passes on certain days. So you can say, I'm going to go to the Oriental House and I'm going to get bus pass that lasts me for a week, and this is how I'm going to do my job search. I'm going to go fill out applications and get to and from. But just let them see, even if it is a family member writing in saying, I'm going to allow him or her to stay with me until they get on their feet. But as they stand with me, I'll be their transportation to fill out applications. I'll be their transportation to probation officer visits. We'll take them to the Goodwill to get clothing vouchers, so he'll have clothes. Just give them a map. Let them see. Make them be able to see and understand. Like, that's what I did. And I had everything wrote down, because I told you I was studying them. I studied it. I studied people that was going to the board. I studied people that was coming out getting flopped. I studied the people that actually got paroles, and I had a little thing. And then when I got my parole, I passed it on. I passed it on to a guy I was cool with. I don't know what happened to it, but I passed the pamphlet on. I made a nice little pamphlet, and they passed it in the circle, and guys started coming home. I can't take the credit for it, because they actually told me out of their mouth, man, good looking, man, that helped. You know what I'm saying? Without that, I wouldn't be home. So like 3 of them told me that. So yeah, I know it worked. And I'm still looking at the parole board. I'm still talking to people that's not getting paroles, that's still incarcerated and everything. So I know that's key. And if you looking at it from that side of the lens, then it's different. It's a different look. I know it's different for me. Yeah, I know that it's different for me, because I used to be one of the ones that used to be saying, I used to talk down about the parole board, hated the parole board, and that was because I felt like once you go in there and you do your time enough to go and talk to the parole board, then you eligible for parole. But that's true. When your time come and you are allowed to go and have that conversation with the parole board, you are eligible for parole. You are eligible for parole according to the time you did enough time to come talk to the parole board. But you haven't been rehabilitated. You're not showing no type of rehabilitation. You ain't showing no type of rehabilitation. No structure, no discipline. You don't follow the rules. You gonna go back out here and do the same thing. You can't do it in here. In this confined environment, you're not gonna be able to go out there and do it out there. This how they thinking. Off the rip. And then, no, they're coming in the door saying no. Off the rip. Now you gotta change they no into a yes. It's not no in the middle. It could be yes, it could be no. It's no off the rip. You got to change that no into a yes. And by doing these things and checking off all these boxes, you got to have every last box checked off, or it's going to stay no. If you got one box that ain't checked off, I done seen them give a guy 8 months. Time enough to go in there and just complete the program and come back. So that's how I feel about the parole board. Like I said, I'm right, everybody else wrong. You know what I'm talking about? And this for Ohio. I'm talking about Ohio. But parole board is parole board. They don't want to let nobody out. You got to get yourself out. Just talking slick, and going in there looking like you're a professor and all that. That alone ain't doing it. That alone is not going to do it. They call that, in fact, at the parole board, they call that being penitentiary slick. Yes, sir, they do. They call that being penitentiary slick. And they'll give you time for that. Send you out until you come on back in 18 months, 32 months or something. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, that's how I feel about the parole board. Hopefully y'all get some from this. If you got somebody that's incarcerated that's going to the parole board, take this information and let them know that, and you know, hopefully it helped. Thanks for watching this to the end. You already know it's your guy. Man, hit that like button on your way out the door, you feel me? And if you ain't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel.